Hey, and welcome. In this video, we're going to connect to the privileged endpoint and run the test-Azure Stack command in order to prepare for an upcoming update. So, in order to connect to the privileged endpoint, you need to have a privileged access workstation, or you need to use the HLAs in order to connect to your privileged endpoint. So, how to find the IP addresses for the privileged endpoint? So since the update 1910, they have actually added this into the portal. So if we go to the Azure Stack admin portal, there is the properties section, and in there we can actually see which are the privileged endpoints IP addresses. There are 3 of them by default. You can choose whatever one you would like to connect to. So what we need to do is from that particular privileged endpoint, from the workstation or the HLH, you need to open up a PowerShell window and you need to connect to the privileged endpoints. In order to do that, we'll just gather some credentials. I hope I can type the correct password. There we go. And then you will have to open up a session to the privileged endpoints. There we go. So what we're doing is we're establishing a new PS session to computer name 10.1.81.225, and the configuration name is important because that's actually the configuration you're going to retrieve from the particular remote PowerShell session and the credentials we're using to connect to the particular endpoint. So once that's done, we can actually run invoke command and connect it to the particular session. And run, for example, the test-Azure Stack minus group, and in this case I use group update readiness in order to have just the checks performed for updating Azure Stack. So hit enter. This will take probably up to a minute or so. It will run a couple of checks, and I will fast forward. Okay. The test is finished and we can actually start the update for now. So to give you a little bit of an understanding, what we have done here is we connect to a privileged endpoint, which is actually just a remote PowerShell session. But because we use a configuration called privileged endpoint, it means that we only have a certain subset of commands available to us in order to protect ourselves, to don't harm the system. So usually when you run a get dash command on your local machine .count, and let me then do this, this will be a lot depending on how many modules you have installed, the commands that are available to you, and so on forth. But if I'm going to look at the privileged endpoint session and going to look for the commands available there, we'll only have a subset. So just to give you an understanding, the count, there we go. Probably not allowed to run that particular command. What you see, the list is really short. And those are only actually referring to Azure Stack commandlets that we need to run. So for example, get the syslog client, set the syslog client. This one is important to break the glass principle. So if you have an issue that you cannot resolve yourself, Microsoft support has to come in and they're going to do a break the glass session with you. So that means you contact support, they contact you, and you have a session with them, you share your screen, and then you run the get support session token, and then you send it over to the support guys. They give you an unlock token and they can then actually troubleshoot the system with you. So I hope this gave you a quick understanding on how to connect to the privileged endpoint and how to run, for example, test-Azure Stack. See you next time.